Okay, so yeah, that's another myth that I want to talk about. So what have you always heard about fluoro?
6 feet away.
Time and distance.
Okay, yeah, so you protect yourself with time, distance shielding. That's how you reduce your overall exposure. But one of the big myths that I hear, it's not one of you, it's usually these people from Kentucky, but they'll go, oh, if I stand 6 feet away from that, I'm fine. This is my cousin.
I've heard it from some of the radiation people that come over here.
Oh yeah, well that 6-foot rule actually comes from that, the button that's usually on the portable machine usually goes out to 6 feet. So that's where they get that, that's where this is propagated from. But this scatter goes everywhere, all right? And it depends on the angle of reflection, angle of incident with that X-ray. It could be coming back, so your energies, we'll talk about that real quick. What time do I have until?
8.
8, okay. Maybe try
10 minutes.
try to end a little bit early. But that fluoro, if you have a large patient, what kind of energies might you have? If you have somebody like me that you have to image, might be a lot more than energy to go through my body than your body,
You're
right?
small compared to some of our patients.
Okay, well that's good. They're shaking their head, yes, they're agreeing with me on that one. So in order to get a good quality image for somebody that's a larger person, you have to up the energy, okay? So usually we're talking about, I'm gonna say a range between 80 to 120 keV, maybe 140 in some cases, maybe large patients even more. A lot of these machines, I'm not sure if yours have them, they have what's called automatic or OEC. It automatically compensates for that density of the person, so it's automatic, or AEC, automatic exposure control. So it will sense that on the detectors that you need more energy, and it will boost that up to compensate for it. So we talked about lead and shielding the patient. If you do not have that patient shielded right, and that piece of lead, and I don't have the light, is in that field, what happens to the energy?
Scatters.
Okay, so if you have your beam, is that on? See it there. So now, see my hand in the beam? So that's the lead. So if I have the lead in
It
that,
takes more energy to go through it.
it will ramp up the energy. So it defeats the whole purpose of the collimation. So when you are shielding a patient, now if you are doing a wall bucky and you're doing a chest x-ray, you're collimated to this area, right? And you usually put like lead around that patient. Now when the x-ray is hitting me, what's going on inside of my body?
Scattering.
Scatter. So it's hitting my spine, hitting my ribs. It's going everywhere. It's going all the way down my feet, everything.
Question.
Yeah.
When they're doing a chest x-ray and PACU, does that mean that every single one of those patients and every single one of those people that are in PACU need to be covered?
Well,
If they're doing the x-ray in PACU?
okay, is it, okay, remember
It's a
what the
portable
public,
chest.
okay, remember what the public dose limit is? 100 milligram. Is it likely that those patients, other patients in that room are going to get 100 milligram from that 1 or 2 shots?
No.
What do you guys get? And you are doing this day in and day out. So
That
no.
was just a question.
Yeah.
I mean, because of your standards when everybody's working.
Well, that for fluoro. For fluoro, I want to emphasize that. But it is for that second, it is a radiation area, technically. And the portable machine should have that sign on the machine. That's something else the state has cracked down on. And I'm buying some nice signs. You guys don't have a portable, do you? You got not the fluoro units,
No,
but
portable.
portable. Okay, portable chest. Okay, so we're gonna get you some signs, some nice ones. But yeah, if they're in that area, you definitely want. You don't want to aim at them. When you're doing a shot, you want to, have the person isolated so that you're not going, in that other room. okay? Because you will get, x-rays cannot be stopped 100% even with the lead on. It will go right through walls, it's an attenuation of it. But there's not an expectation that they would get 100 millirem, so if you're only doing 1 or 2 shots and the patients are rotating and they're not there very long, you're not going to get that, you're not going to get any measurable exposure for that. So, circle back with the pregnancy again. Our limits are 5,000. We've discussed that a number of times, and you guys got it right. What are your limits as a patient? You're a patient. Your exposure is based on what? Your personal exposure.
Your occupation?
Your occupation. Occupation. So when you go to the dentist, are you wearing your dosimeter? If you have to have a chest x-ray yourself or a CT scan like I did for the stomach ache, which gave me more exposure in 45 seconds than I had in 10 years in the Navy, are you wearing your dosimeter? So your medical exposure is different. It's not counted towards your occupational exposure. So as a patient, you have a 10-year-old that's not pregnant, 10-year-old patient that comes in, what's their exposure limits? And this is a trick question, because there are none. 0. If you have a physician that says that this 10-year-old, and when I was up in Chicago and worked with the Children's Hospital, you might have 9-month-old child that's already had 20 CT scans. So why are we giving patients this exposure?
Well, they're sick, you gotta treat them.
You have to treat them.
It's a risk-benefit ratio.
Absolutely. That's what I'm getting at. The risk of them getting harm from that procedure is lower than the benefit. The benefit is greater for them to have that procedure than not. So there are no limits for the patient. So with that being said, statistically speaking, for pregnancy, we do not see any statistical difference in birth abnormalities, any defects to the baby until we cross the 10 rem or 10 rad level. So your occupational limits are half of that. Right? The patients, there's no limit, but we do not see to the child any statistical difference until we cross this 10 rad threshold, partly because just unfortunately in nature there are problems at birth. I had a cousin that was born with a cleft palate. Don't know why. A birth abnormality. What causes cancer?
Monster
Maybe.
drinks.
Monster drinks, yeah. So we know radiation, I'll give you that one. What else causes cancer?
Different chemicals.
Chemicals.
Some type of irritation.
It could be hormonal or more, can't say it.
Radiation.
No, I already gave you that one.
Age,
Age? Yes. And why is that?
just if you live long enough, you're gonna have some kind of mutation that you're just gonna.
Absolutely.
happen.
So every day, every year, we are bombarded with radiation. Does anybody saw the Star Wars movies? Anybody? You guys gotta go out and
Yeah.
movies more. Okay, and I'm being totally serious here. 10% of your background radiation comes from galaxies far, far away and a long, long time ago. I'm not making it up. It's coming from, believe it or not, 10% of your exposure is coming from supernova, exploding suns, and also from black holes called Hawking radiation. So that's what we get. Also, if you sleep with a significant other, you get another 10% because our bodies give off radiation. That's called beneficial radiation, right? We encourage that strongly. But we give off radiation. Foods, everything we drink, the air that we breathe. Radon gives you more radiation. Radon, and I think I've been on this soapbox a little bit. I encourage you to check your home for radon. Radon, background radiation, gives you more exposure, probably 4 times as much as you're getting here at work. But that's all background, so that doesn't count as your occupational dose. So when you see that M on your exposure reports, that means that they could not distinguish from background. So we have a control, the control gets sent in, and that they can't tell if it's what's background and what's occupation. Okay, so wrapping this all up, put a little bow on it. Does anybody got any questions?
I have one.
Yeah,
If you had your cataracts done, do you still need to wear the eye protection?
I would. Because again, the cataracts are forming from a different side. So I'm no expert in this, by no means, but I guess it's possible to get cataracts again from not some other hereditary factor, but from the radiation. I'd wear, they look cool. We got these Nike goggles.
Posterior,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're about $300 a piece, so yeah, we spent a lot of
No,
money.
they're about 200.
Close.
Hey, and the BAMEs, I want to tell you about the BAMEs.
Yeah.
I strong-armed them, and I went from 5 systems down to 1.
Cool, good.
So you won't have to pay the BAMEs anymore. Yeah,
The question about covering the patient,
yeah.
in a lap chole, do you lay them on an apron? I mean, what is,
Okay, so,
there's
that's
this
her question. Under or
scatter,
over them?
the whole thing, what's
well,
to do?
okay, so they're on the table, right? And you've got, so there should be a free path from the detector to the image. Should not be blocked by lead. And so
So you don't want to lay the patient on lead?
no, not with the lead in the path between.
No,
the
in
image.
between.
No, but
Yeah.
I'm up from waist down.
Yeah, so technically, if you want to shield the patient from scatter, you would shield both sides. But remember what I said, when you take that image of that patient and you're hitting that spine, what's going on internally?
It's going on.
it's gone everywhere.
It's going through you, it's going through you, it's hitting, you've got them wrapped, it's hitting the lead, guess what? It's bouncing right back into their skin. So you've increased their skin exposure, but I guess you've decreased, it really, I'll be honest with you, it is, they can't even measure the effect on that. I mean, the whole purpose with the wrapping the patient and so forth, I feel, in my opinion, it's more of a comfort. You know, you've got, patient, look what I'm doing for you. When you go now when you're at the dentist and they're shooting you here and they cover you down here, I'll take it. No big deal, but it is scattering. It's hitting my chin, my skull, and going down my body anyhow.
So are you saying there's no need to put for a lap chole?
I think that our policies, or it's not a system-wide policy, but I think it's a general consensus that they do wrap the patient. That's fine. My opinion is that
I think some of the radiation people come in here and say it's either better under or over, and you get difference of opinion. I think.
Well,
It depends on how the
Yeah.
C-arms
C-arms
turn.
turn.
Yeah.
In the big round area, that's what receives the rays, so.
right, it's a little
Right,
tube
so
is
if
small.
that's on top, if you're doing a C-arm for a port or for a lap chole, then the big part's usually up top. If you're doing Thompson, it's the opposite. So Thompson, I would think you need an apron on. If you're gonna do one apron, you need an apron on top. For the other cases where the big scatter part's up top, the radiation's coming from underneath the small part of the C-arm. So that's why you need an apron underneath. So it depends on how
But he's saying you don't.
Well, what I'm saying
You need
is that
one.
you're
You need one.
protecting them against scatter radiation, but if you wrap them with an apron, you are scattering back, reflecting back into it. It's minimal.
It's better
It's
to put one under.
trivial. But if you're going to wrap, you might as well wrap all the way around. It's like the CT scans. I always love the CT scans. For the longest time, they used to give them eye shields. And the CT's going around their head. So it's going in the back of their head, back of their brain, hitting the eye shield and coming back at them again. Yeah, so, somebody figured out, no, that's not a good idea. One thing I will say, so you guys, this is your Geiger counter. Give you a quick tutorial on this real quick. You guys use this with or without this little shield? Okay, because it says remove, right? Okay, the checks on this, you're checking, hey, it's beeping. There's a little switch here for battery, so you want to make sure the battery's good right before you use it. Also want to make sure it's in calibration, okay? And then you're supposed to check it on a known source. Okay, when the seeds, these are decent for the seeds. It's not the ideal one. Ideal one would be a sodium iodine detector. But we talked about background radiation. Now, Wayne might have played with these when he was a kid, but it used to be marbles. It's a radioactive marble. What other goodies do I got in here? This is uranyl acetate. They'll use this in some labs. This is a lantern mantle. This one, this you could buy at Walmart for a long time. So a bunch of goodies if you want to come up and play around with it. But basically, this detector right here, this is a tube that's pressurized. So you want to be careful that you got a lot of sharp stuff that you don't puncture it, because this tube will go and break. So if this is broken, obviously don't use it. Let us know. We can replace the tube on it. But these are good, but this is the business end. So when you're checking, you want to go like this. But when they come in, you're checking the seed there, seed's not there on that end. So I didn't want to go with that. The seed is a lot less exposure than the X-ray. The seed, the energy is 28 to 33 keV and really isn't whole body penetrating to you. So that's why you don't have to wear dosimeters during the seeds. But if you have them on, that's fine. But it's not required to wear it. But, okay, any other questions?
Just a FYI on your exposure report, every time you go to the lounge, you walk right by it every day, so it's there for the past month, and then we take it down and put it in the radiation safety book, so it's there all the time for you to review, so you should review it.
And if you go to my fabulous SharePoint site, I've got all kinds of videos, but you can actually look up your exposure. Now it's only for cone, but I think it goes back to 2 years. But you pop your dosimeter off, and remember these are not film badges, or in North Carolina they say film badges that I got in July.
That's only Rockingham County.
These are crystals read by a laser beam. Wayne, go like that there. There you go. You can look at the numbers in the back. You can put, on the SharePoint site, you can put these numbers in and look up your exposure 24/7, and it will tell you up to 2 years. So it goes to, I think right now they still got 2014 on there. So you can look that up 24/7 yourself. But the exposure reports are good because, like I said, you can compare what you're getting to your peers. So you can go back and say, hey, you're lazy, right? You don't work as much as me. So, any questions about anything? And then one thing I'll leave you with at the end. You guys come in here very early in the morning. We just had the daylight saving time, so it's a little bit brighter. Just want to remind you, if you are in a situation where you see Mr. Creepy or Mrs. Creepy out walking around, one of the walkers, if you feel uncomfortable for any reason, do not hesitate. Unequivocally, do not hesitate to call security, call for help. If you have a patient, you might be, Wayne, intimidated by an 800-pound Samoan woman. No stereotypes here. And you feel uncomfortable, and you don't want to put yourself in a situation that you could be harmed. You want to try to de-escalate the situation. It is a felony in North Carolina to strike a healthcare worker. Okay, now behavioral health, they got to get a pass because they're not fully competent of their actions. But anybody else, it is a felony, and I would hope that you would press charges to stop these people from letting it happen again. So if you
On
feel,
that note, the light that used to be on out here is no longer working.
We'll take that offline.
RCT 101.
thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.